I don't know what you think about religion. You may look at the cross of Christ in much the same way as my professor in seminary did in protest against anyone's preaching on the substitutionary atonement in this day and age. Later in my teaching career, I was asked to deliver a lecture, not a sermon, at an assembly in Philadelphia. A group of people who had inquired of me to ask me to explain the relationship between the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. And as I was lecturing on that theme, somebody hollered out in the midst of my address when I referred to Christ's death as a substitutionary, vicarious sacrifice for other people's sins. This man stood up in the back of the room and yelled out, "That's primitive and obscene." And I was taken aback for a moment, and just to gather my thoughts, I said, "What did you say?" I heard what he said and just asked him to repeat it. I couldn't believe my ears, and he said again with great hostility, "I said that's primitive and obscene." And I said, "I like your choice of adjectives. They're exactly correct, primitive and obscene. It is primitive for a blood sacrifice to be made to satisfy the justice of a transcendent and holy God." I said, "But that's what sin is. It's primitive. It's primary. It is so basic to our human experience that God's way of redemption is not in some Gnostic elite philosophy that only a few learned scholars can understand, but the way God communicates His love and His mercy and His redemption to us is through this primitive work." I particularly like the second word you've used, obscene, because indeed the cross is an obscenity, because all of the corporate sin of us is wrapped up and compacted and compressed into one person as it is laid upon Him. This is the ugliest, most obscene thing in the history of the world, and so I thank you for your observation.